Good morning. Today's poet is Walt Whitman, and he was born in 1819. He died in 1892. Um, he was born on Long Island, New York, and raised in Brooklyn. One of our poetic dropouts, he left school at 11 and worked as an office boy, a printer's apprentice, and a teacher before establishing himself as a journalist affiliated with several prominent New York newspapers. Um, so he ended up, let's see here, he worked briefly at the Department of Interior, and he was fired for being the author of the scandalous Leaves of Grass in 1855. For several years, the office attorney, and for several years he was at the office of the Attorney General. After suffering a debilitating stroke in 1873, he moved to his brother's home in Camden, New Jersey. Um, and he remained there until his death. In Leaves of Grass, the masterpiece that he revised for several decades, Whitman assumed the mantle of the public poet. His preface to the 1855 edition calls the United States themselves his subject. Poetry that celebrated the body and sexuality, however, opened him up to charges of obscenity. So his prosody proved controversial and ultimately as influential as his subject matter. Um, so, for what other reason? I thought that it would be nice to read Song of Myself, which is one of the poems of the Leaves of Grass. Um, it's long, so bear with it, but it's very good. Um, the title Whitman gave in 1881 to the poem um, from Song of Myself um, constituted more than half of Leaves of Grass. So, the book Leaves of Grass, radical in both form and content, particularly in its explicit treatment of sexual themes, was years in the making and underwent many after, though often slight revisions. Um, so, excuse me. Um, sorry about that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading from Song of Myself. This is not the entirety of it, I don't think, but it's several stanzas. It's pretty long. I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belongs to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my soul. I lean and loaf, at ease, observing a spear of summer grass. My tongue, every atom of my blood, form from this soil, this air, born here of parents, born here from parents the same, and their parents the same. I now 37 years old, in perfect health begin, hoping to cease not till death. Creeds and schools in abeyance, retiring back A while sufficed as at what they are, but never forgotten. I harbor, for good or bad, I permit to speak at every hazard. Nature without cheek and ordinary energy. I believe in you, my soul. The other I am must not abase itself to you, and you must not be abased to the other. Loaf with me in the grass, lose the stop from your throat. Not words, not music or rhythm I want, not custom or lecture, not even the best. Only the lull I like, the hum of your valved voice. I mind how once we lay such a transparent summer morning, how you settled your head athwart my hits, gently turned over upon me, and parted the shift from my bosom bone, and plunged your tongue in my bare, stripped heart, and reached till you felt my beard, and reached till you held my feet. Swiftly arose and spread around me the peace and knowledge that pass all the argument of the earth. And I know that the hand of God is the promise of my own. And I know that the Spirit of God is the brother of my own. And that all the men ever born are also my brothers, and the women my sisters and lovers. And that the kelson of the creation is love. And limitless are leaves still drooping in the field, and brown ants in the little wells beneath them, and mossy scabs of the worm fence, heaped stones, elder, mullein, and pokeweed. A child said, "What is grass?" fetching it to me with full hands. How could I answer the child? I do not know what it is any more than he. I guess it must be the flag of my disposition, out of hopeful green stuff woven. Or I guess it is the handkerchief of the Lord, a scented gift, remembrance designedly dropped, bearding, bearing, bearing, bearing the owner's name, and some way in the corners that we may see the remark and say whose. Or I guess the grass is itself a child, the produced babe of the vegetation. Or I guess it is the uniform hieroglyphic, and it means sproutingly alike in broad zones and narrow zones, growing among black folks as among white. Canuck, Tuckahoe, Congressman Cuff, I gave them the same, I received them the same. And now it seems to me the beautiful uncut hair of graves. Tenderly will I use your curling grass. It may be you transpire from the breasts of young men. It may be if I had known them, I would have loved them. It Maybe you are from old people or from offspring taken soon out of their mother's laps, and here you are the mother's laps. This grass is very dark to be from the white heads of old mothers, darker than the colorless beards of old men, dark to come from under the faint red roofs of mouths. Oh, I perceive after all so many uttering tongues, and I perceive they do not come from the roofs of mouths for nothing. I wish I could translate the hints about the dead young men and women, and the hints about old men and mothers, and the offspring taken soon out of their laps. What do you think has become of the young and old men? And what do you think has become of the women and children? They are alive and well somewhere. The smallest sprout shows there is really no death. And if ever there was, it led forward life and does not wait at the end to arrest it and cease the moment life appeared. All goes onward and outward, nothing collapses. And to die is different from what anyone supposed and luckier. 28 young men bathe by my shores. 28 young men, and all so friendly. 28 years of womanly life, and all so lonesome. She owns the fine house by the rise of the bank. She hides handsome riches dressed after the blinds of the window. Which of the young men does she like the best? And the homeliest of them is beautiful to her. Where are you off to, lady? For I see you. You splash in the water there, yet stay stock still in your room. Dancing and laughing to the beach came the 29th bather, and rest see did not see her, and she saw them and loved them. The beards of young men glistening listened with wet. It came from their long hair. Little streams passed all over their bodies. An unseen hand also passed over their bodies. It descended tremblingly from their temples' ribs. The young men float on their backs while their bellies bulge to the sun, and they do not ask who seizes fast to them. They do not know who puff and declines the pendant of bending arch. They do not think whom they souse and spray. The Negro holds firmly the reins of his 4 horses. The block swags underneath, and on its tied over chain, the Negro that drives the long dray of the stone yard, steady and tall as he stands, poised on the leg of the strong string piece. His blue shirt exposes the ample neck and breasts and loosens over his hip band. His glance is calm and commanding. He tosses the slouch of his hat and away from his forehead. The sun falls off crispy hair, and mustache falls off the back of his polished and perfect limbs. I behold the picturesque giant and love him. And I do not stop there. I go with the team also. In me, the caresser of life, wherever moving, backwards as well as forwards, slewing. To niches aside and junior, bending not a person or object missing, absorbing all myself for the song. Oxen that rattle the yoke and chain or halt to the lofty shade. What is it that you express in your eyes? It seems to me more than the print I have read in my life. My tread scares the wood drake and wood duck on my distant, and they long ramble. They rise together, they slowly circle around. I believe in those winged purposes. They acknowledge red, yellow, and white playing within me, and consider green and violet tufted crown intentional, and do not call the turquoise underneath because she is not something else. And that joy in the woods never studied the gamut, yet trills pretty well to me, and looks of the bay more shame's stillness out there. Um, I think that's where I'm gonna end for today because that went on for a while, and usually these are a little shorter. But it was beautiful, and I don't see anything wrong with that type of writing, and I don't understand why he got fired from that job or why people thought that he was writing bad stuff or sexually explicit stuff. I mean, for what was in there about his lovers and all of what he said, it and everything that he observed in the beauty of nature and all the people, I don't see anything wrong with it, and I think that he was a wonderful poet, one of the best ever, and I think most people know that nowadays. Have a good day.